It's the next day. Plan is grind all of this down. I'm sure there's going to be some pinholes because my welding is a bit of a potato at the moment, so but that's fine. I'm not too worried about that. I'm just gonna clean it up, not too much, so there's still material that's holding everything together, because from the underneath I am going to this section. So yeah, the penetration is actually pretty decent everywhere. This little section needs to be bent upwards and then spot welded from plug welded even from the top. But before I do that, I'm gonna load everything up with loads of zinc primer, and then I'm going to fiberglass fill the underneath of it. So even if I do have like pinholes and whatever else, I'm not too worried about that. And the top is gonna get a coat of epoxy primer. So even though this isn't the most beautiful looking repair, it's going to be functional, and that's the main thing. Yeah, let's get cracking, grinding. And then if there are any major, like if there's big pinholes, then I'll just go over it again, weld them up, and yeah, boom, let's get cracking.
Any ideas? Any ideas?
This is now fiberglass filled, pushed right into, there was a couple of little pinholes, but that's sweet. The new problem now is I can't get in there, but the floor needs to be plug welded to this part. I'm gonna load it up with zinc primer through the holes and just through here and just blow it in, just loads in there, and then hammer this part up, drill from the top, plug weld the floor to this part of the frame, and just call it a day for the minute, and then sleep on it, and then see what the hell else needs doing. This is what's currently going on. I've this is all ground down and fairly smooth. I'm happy with it. For my literally first welding job, I feel like it's pretty good. Here, I've drilled out 3 plug welds that join the floor onto this part of the frame. At the moment I've just got it jacked up, so it's because I've had to bend it back to get in there to load it up with zinc primer and stuff like that and clean out the bit of rust that was in there. So I've jacked it up on this point to press it against the floor flat, so then I can get these 3 plug welds. And
any ideas?
Yeah, once I do that, I'm gonna go back and then load up that cavity with just more zinc primer and blow it in there with the air gun and stuff. Okay, let's see how that goes. So that's the floor repaired for the minute. I'm just gonna leave it alone. Slapped some epoxy primer on it just to keep it covered for now. Eventually this whole floor is gonna get sanded down, reworked and redone, but for the time being, just to keep the repair like just covered up, and yeah, sweet. That can be left alone now. On to the next thing. So I now want to concentrate on this side of the car. The floor over there is done. That was my like practice learning area to just get an idea of what welding feels like and stuff.
Any ideas?
So I've got the gist. Now I just need to do the rest of it. This side of the car is nearer to the workbench, thus I can just do whatever I need to do in between the two things. This whole side needs a ridiculous amount of work. There's a massive hole on the inner wing where the battery tray used to sit. All Fiestas rot there. That's just what happens. This whole corner of the car is pretty bad. I'm gonna try and save as much of it as I can. I'm gonna start off with just cleaning it all up. There is a fairly thick layer of undersill on this whole section, and I need to strip it off somehow. I don't know whether I need to wire wheel it or paint strip it or something, but it's just crusty, rusty, struggly boy all the way down. The rust here that needs to be stripped back and treated. There is straight up a hole here. Looks quite scary on the other side, but I think this is all savable. This strengthening panel here I will have to take off because there is something scary going on behind it. I will actually have to drill out the spot welds, take this off, because I don't know how well the camera's picking it up, but there's rust that's coming through into the inside of the car, and it's all looking a bit grim. So all of this needs to be stripped down, cleaned up, and then I'll just start attacking it bit by bit. The seal, there's holes in it all over the place. All the top of it is pretty bad. This corner of it is probably some of the worst, but I'll address that at another time because I need to work out what the hell I'm doing with it. I'm gonna start easy on this inner wing. I think when I'm going to weld the new panel in, I'm gonna weld it from the underneath, so then from the top I can smooth it all off, filler it, bodywork it, so the inside, so this exposed bit will actually look like really nice. But this part, you will never see this, so it can stay. I will leave the welds quite heavy, won't grind them down too much. just make sure it's in there nice and solid. Underneath the arch, just needs cleaning up a little bit. Gives me an idea of what the hell's going on over there as well. Just tidy up a little bit, wire wheel it, see how it goes.
Any ideas?
Yeah, I'm just gonna cut it out. All the rusty crusty boys have been removed. I was there, no longer there. Now there's just a nice neat hole. Me at least does not look like the most complicated shape in the world. And for a noob like me, that's nice. Old Fords. This is completely expected. I knew I was gonna find stuff like this, but this is why I need to strip this. I need to strip this whole thing and see what's going on. So where I've cut this in the wing, stripping back some of the stripping back that undersill, there is rust that I just absolutely had no idea was there. I know there's loads of rust on the car, but for example, this had absolutely no idea. It just had blobs of undersill on it, and this is where the inner wing actually joins onto the strut tower. So I need to sort this out. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have to take this cut further up and investigate and see what's going on underneath there, see if I can potentially clean it out as best as I can, rust treat it, or just cut the whole thing in half, just burn it down and be done with it. Good night. But no,
Any
I'm not
ideas?
gonna do that. Hello. Right, MK1 update on the boy. Alright, this lid is going on instead of this lid. Everything's coming out. Cage, all the glass, all the rubbers, absolutely everything. Everything's getting paint stripped.
Just getting stripped back so I can block that section in ready for it.
So we can do some body work on this. A bit of fillering, a bit of sandage, a bit of this, a bit of that. That is one struggly boy. Taking out the light, boys.
We need another 2 garages this size just to put all the shit you take out in the car.
Panels here, panels everywhere. Trying to sell this.
Any ideas?
Trying to fix this door. There's crust holes at the bottom. 50 doors, bonnet, everywhere. It's a tight space. It is a tight space. There's so much cleaning that needs doing. Once everything is off the car,
Yeah, just blow it up, open the back doors out. Once all the filler works,
blow her back doors out. You're gonna blow her doors out.
petrol blower, that blower, hoof blower,
Jesus.
bar fitting, degreaser.
On this thing, as I was saying before, loads of work needs doing here. So, to make my life easier, all of this is coming out. I've already sprayed a bit of WD-40 on all the nutsos and boltos. So let's fucking get it done, boys. Okay, so now I've removed the shock. I've got all this room for activities. And I actually feel slightly better about this. This crusty bit in the middle of the screen right now, it's not as bad as I thought. I think I'm still gonna make this cut, take this a bit further up.
Any ideas?
Okay, so I've cut a bit more off, and just as suspected, I've pried this bit up. Yes, it's rusty in there. No, it's not the end of the world. It's not too bad, but I feel like this is a slippery slope. I'm just going to end up cutting everything apart and then not be able to put anything back together. I'm by no means a professional, so I have to call it a day somewhere. So I'll be happy if I just take the seam sealer off, take factory seam sealer off here, carry on this cut right up to where the strut tower meets the inner wing, clean up the strut tower that's underneath there, and have this thinner metal, because the strut tower is actually really thick and like I'm not worried about it whatsoever, but the top is what's going to rust through first. So if I replace that, try and treat this rust in there, and just, yeah, I think if I manage to do all of that, that will be a good enough repair. Ba-boom, boom, bam. So I've cut this bit out. I actually didn't have a clue what I was doing at all, but it worked out completely fine. So there's a hole in a wing that the strut tower comes through. And yeah, I've managed to drill out the spot welds and just cut a little bit more. There's a little radius on it that I'm gonna have to shape when I'm making this panel, but yeah, sweet. I feel much happier about this now that I've done it, because I didn't know what to expect or what the hell I was doing, so not bad. All of this surface rust here, I can now clean up, and this bit, remake. There's a little bit of just tiny specks of rust underneath there. I'm gonna obviously clean up all these cuts a little bit better and blow rust treatment in there with the air gun, and clean this up, rust treat it, and yeah, much happier I've actually done that. So it's gonna be a bit of a funky shape to make up, but it'll be okay.